caught posting this. The market nuked so many times from tariff FUD. Now that the Supreme Court ruled them illegal, where are the God candles? A very good question, Alex. Why have we not seen those God candles yet? I mean, there was a bit of a boost here for cryptocurrencies like XRP and others. As you guys can see, volume really did increase here yesterday. It did peter out. We aren't seeing those God candlesticks, though, that generally tend to bring the cryptocurrency market up to new extreme highs. XRP following the Bitcoin trend as it always has. I'm not going to say always will, because we could see a decoupling once we do see real world utility in the space. Look at that. Bitcoin also came up a little bit. Now it's just kind of cooling down. Right now, one Bitcoin, that's going for about 67,800 per coin. So, when we take a look at the trend, XRP, as I've mentioned several times, is a lot more volatile than Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it is the leader, though, so it will dictate where the rest of the crypto market is going. And, until we actually see Bitcoin forming some new highs, because, this is what I'm looking at right now. That was the Bitcoin high from back on February the 9th. That high, you can see Bitcoin really kind of tried to get back up past these new highs. That was from, February the 15th. And now, guys, we're just kind of in and around this area in here where, we have to see some new highs break up before we can really get excited about seeing new all-time highs for Bitcoin. Well, all-time highs, as far as I'm concerned, is still a ways away. I personally think we're going to see more downside before we see more upside. If I throw this on the daily chart, you guys can see here, the Bitcoin trend still just kind of trending downward and not looking bullish. I mean, I got to say, not looking very bullish. What I would say is that this is still forming what is looking like that bearish pennant pattern, which generally denotes that we will see lower lows. Now, if you guys want to see where I'm going to be buying the dip, I have not deployed any of my capital. 14, we have been in fear and greed for quite a long time. I'm going to click on this today, and I'm going to just show you guys where we are. So fear and greed, even at the top of the market over here, okay, when Bitcoin technically hit that all-time high right up here, if you guys are looking at the screen, that's where I'm showing you where my cursor is. We were nowhere near where we should have been in terms of people being exuberant and excited. You compare that to 2025, even where Bitcoin was nowhere near those highs. People were very, very excited. And even back in 2024, when Bitcoin did see new highs, people were very excited. However, Bitcoin did make a new all-time high, and we were only at, 59? It's barely greed. We were kind of more or less in neutral territory, and then we saw the dip. And it feels like we've been in extreme fear, or at least fear, for a very, very long time. Look at over here. Last month, fear was at 32. And even the yearly high, we only saw 76 in terms of greed, not even up in the top 20%. So, it's interesting. The sentiment, I can feel the sentiment too, just based on the comment section, based on, view count. People are not excited. People have left the space. I got to say, maybe they're not coming back ever. Maybe they're going to come back when we do see some price activity really kind of rock and roll. I personally think, though, this is the best time to be in crypto because you can really maximize your dollar. You can really cost average down. You can really buy at a discount. But, this is generally when we see people leaving. I posted my video from yesterday, and underneath, I just wanted to, because in that video, I did demonstrate some metrics, some Bitcoin metrics specifically, and I wasn't sure what website it was from. Well, PFD here did give me the link, so I wanted to give him credit for that. And I will link this in the description of the video. It is from coinglass.com. So I will link this in the description, but this gives you all kinds of great indicators for Bitcoin specifically, just to kind of gauge where sentiment is and whether we hold, whether we sell. Right now at 100% holding. So wanted to thank him for that. Tim Draper has also come out saying this cycle is following the familiar halving rhythm. So this is also, I feel like this is optimistic because we're not really veering in some kind of unknown territory. If we are in fact following the typical cycle, 4 years, this is a bear year, and you know what that means? More lows to be had.
Well, I think we're running through this cyclicality that comes with the halvings, or what they used to be called the halvenings. And I think we're going to see a time here where people are, start to lose hope and all that. And then people will realize, it's a better store of value. It's a better currency. It's a currency that you can trust no matter what happens with your government. Bitcoin keeps perfect records. It's transparent. It's open. Everybody can see it. So it's honest. And I think, and it brings humanity to a higher level. And I think we're going to see, I think it might drop a little more as as people have to unravel because they were a little too enthusiastic and they borrowed to buy more Bitcoin.
Right.
I think those have to be unraveled, and then it'll resume its upward trend.
Well, Tim,
so I'm very excited about it. I think it's the greatest thing that's happened to humanity. Yeah. It's so great that we now have another way for us to all do business, and it's like as big a deal as going from nothing to shells, or from shells to gold, or from gold to the promise of gold. Each of those made the world wealthier. This is going to make the world wealthier.
Well, Tim, it's interesting to hear some of your...
There is a gravitational pull toward Bitcoin, away from the other cryptocurrencies, and they become more and more marginalized each time there's a boom and a bust. And so I suspect that'll continue. Bitcoin will maybe end up being an 80% market share of all the cryptocurrencies. I think that's probably the way it's going to go.
That last comment, I'm not entirely sure I believe him on that, but did you guys hear what he said in this clip? I'm just going to play that little portion again.
Yeah, I think it might drop a little more as as people have to unravel because they were a little too enthusiastic and they borrowed to buy more Bitcoin.
Right.
I think those have to be unraveled, and then it'll resume its upward trend.
Tim Draper actually thinks the market is going to see lower lows before we see higher highs. So just like I said, in line with that 4-year cycle theory, and he didn't make a big deal of it. He just kind of said it. Now he's one of these Bitcoin OGs. So guys, what are we to expect next? Again, I'm going to be letting my Patreon subscribers know what my next move is going to be in the moment. Wanted to thank Crypto's Russ. Wanted to thank, I'm not going to thank myself, but wanted to thank Alex Cobb as well. I guess I could thank PFD too, although I already thanked him. Nevertheless, doesn't hurt to thank him again. Smoke here posting this. The Bank of Canada demands 1-to-1 reserve backing and ISO 20022 compliance for regulated stablecoins. So I just wanted to bring this to you guys to show you that the rest of the world is now kind of following suit with what, the US wants to finally hammer out. Pure payment stablecoin issuers would be regulated as payment instruments under the Bank of Canada oversight. To do this, the Bank of Canada should leverage and extend existing retail payment regulations. So the Canadian government, the Bank of Canada, understands that payments, stablecoins, are going to be a valid source of payment around the world. And so they have to get their stablecoin regulation in line with what's happening in the US. And I wouldn't be surprised if, the kinds of stablecoins that they will deem legal as legal tender, I guess, would coincide with the list from the United States. Real-time attestation capabilities that enable continuous verification and adherence to ISO 20022 messaging standards. So this is what's happening in Canada, guys. I'm sure we're going to see it in many other countries around the world too. Tony Edward posting this major XRP news. The next step for the Dubai Land Development and Control Alt move to the next phase. Okay, real estate tokenization on the XRP ledger. Now, I talked about this a few weeks ago, but they're moving to the next phase. This means you can purchase real estate over the XRP ledger. It is going to be tokenized, so there's not really much in terms of paperwork there. You can pretty much buy a portion of a property, and it's fractionalized too, so you can buy in with many different people. There are already websites that offer this. The Land Department, so the DLD, the Dubai Land Department, and tokenization firm Control Alt unveiled a secondary market for real estate tokens. Roughly 7.8 million tokens tied to 10 Dubai properties are now eligible for trading within the controlled market environment. So guys, you can go onto this platform. I've actually taken a look at it already, and I've signed up for an account, but I have not pulled the trigger yet. I'm still doing some research. They release different kinds of properties every so often, and you can, just take a look at the statistics. If they're rental properties, so this is the cool thing too. If they're rental properties, you can partake in the revenue share. So if you own 5% of the property, you get 5% of the profits. It's really cool, actually, and it's going to be running on the XRP ledger. So the effort is part of Dubai's ambitious plan to become a global hub for real estate tokenization, turning ownership in properties into tradable tokens on blockchain rails. Proponents argue that blockchain rails can streamline ownership records and settlement. What I'm wondering is what this means for Dubai's real estate market in terms of prices. If it's going to go wild, kind of like cryptocurrency prices based on supply and demand. Because if it's this easy to buy, think of that, right? Think of how easy it is to buy cryptocurrency in the Wild West days, and think of the volatility of prices. Could this mean that real estate prices could go up and down, volatile, similar in volatility to like what crypto was a few years ago? So this is Dubai's $16 billion roadmap. And they have a plan to do this. Anyway, the next step has been finally made. Tokenization, guys, real world assets in terms of property. So that is meaningful RWA headline if execution matches the narrative. Real estate tokenization tied directly to the land registry records is a different form, a different tier rather than just generic RWA talk. So I've seen it for myself. And I'm really interested to keep following this story. Wanted to thank Tony for that. Now, in terms of tokenization reduces counterparty risk. DTCC CEO Frank Lasala, he said the same in a recent interview. Listen to this.
Tokenization of assets is really happening, and it's moving much more quickly. I think after the Genius Act passed, we got some clarity on stablecoin. The industry really began to coalesce around how do we use this for traditional assets. What blockchain can do, it can move securities back and forth in a much more instantaneous way than even the current method can, and move cash instantaneously. It reduces counterparty risk, which for the industry, especially the numbers that we're talking about, is enormous. And as you know, the U.S. capital markets is big.
So he's talking about the potential here, guys. It's so big. The Dubai Land Authority, that is just one part of it. But when you think of this in terms of a global framework and the U.S. market, boy, that is going to be huge. And, we're going to start to see that come online very, very soon, I think. SBI, they also just launched their first series of security tokens, this courtesy of Bank XRP. They're called SBI Start Bonds, for institutional investors specifically, with a total issue amount of 10 billion Japanese yen. Bondholders will receive XRP rewards based on their subscription amount. Benefits are scheduled for interest payment dates in March 2027 through until 2029. These ST bonds will be issued and managed on the IBIT for Fin blockchain. And guys, this is all tied to the XRP ledger. Of course, SBI is or has been a partner of Ripple since the very, very early days. I want to say probably 2015 or 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Right down here, you can see in the document, customers will receive XRP in an amount corresponding to their subscription amount as a benefit. So directly from SBI Holdings, guys, this is just from yesterday, February the 20th. So they're in line with making sure that their customers get XRP as rewards. They would not issue this unless they thought the XRP was valuable for their clients to hold. Yoshitaka Katao posting this. SBI Ripple Asia also did launch technical support with a view to implementing blockchain utilization in financial services. Another announcement, guys, coming out from SBI Asia. Essentially, the gist of it, SBI Ripple Asia has signed a memorandum of understanding with Asia Web3 Alliance Japan regarding a technical support partnership. So they are, leveraging their resources to help each other in terms of technical support, creating a support environment for startups aiming to implement financial services using blockchain technology. So the XRP ledger, obviously, going to be front and center. SBI Ripple Asia is in collaboration with AWAJ, and they will provide technical support based on regulatory response, business design, and business viability. As for blockchain technology, we envision the use of the XRP ledger, which is being implemented by financial institutions worldwide. So they've signed the memorandum of understanding. And now there's going to be a technical support network, which is going to include SBI Ripple Asia. So more great news, guys, coming from SBI Holdings. Ripple partner TransferGo also made the news, guys. TransferGo enters a new stage of growth, and they've just expanded to the Bank of Lithuania. The Bank of Lithuania has supplemented the Electronic Money Institution, or their EMI license, for the fintech company through TransferGo. TransferGo has been a Ripple partner for quite some time. This enhancement enables the company to not only continue providing money transfers and payment account services, but also to soon offer TransferGo cards to EU residents for everyday financial transactions. So really making sure that their customers are at the forefront of this technological revolution, not left behind. The co-founder and CEO of TransferGo, he did explain that the expanded license reflects the evolving expectations of customers and the company's long-term strategy. So, of course, TransferGo has been doing very well. One of those very fruitful Ripple partners that have been partnered with Ripple for a very long time, and they've just been forging partnerships left, right, and center. Now they're touting their partnership with the Bank of Lithuania, expanding their EMI license. So great news there. The liquidity is building. It's building slowly but surely. This is a clip from earlier this month. I missed it when it came out. It was from a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to show you guys Sandy Call, the head of innovation from Franklin Templeton. She explains here at the Ondo Financial Summit 2026 that there is a universal liquidity layer and the demand is rising for just that. Remember, Ondo and Ripple are partners. And Franklin Templeton also does have a connection to Ripple as well. Listen to this.
I think there's a lot of demand in this universal liquidity layer to really begin to plug these rails in. A lot of the announcements that Ian and the Ondo team were making earlier around what they're trying to enable with prime brokerage, what they're trying to enable with perps. That's all, I think, illustrative of this universal liquidity layer. And now, because that is really advancing very quickly, we're now able to start to be launching the products on top of it that are moving the assets out of these fragmented accounts that everything sits in today into the wallet. And then getting those assets into the wallet is where new demand is emerging.
They're taking it step by step, right? The liquidity layer will bring broad interoperability on chain. Of course, there's the multitude of wallets held by customers. And I don't even think the institutional partners really know how this is going to transpire yet. I mean, we already have, I guess I don't want to call them test cases because this is actually happening at scale in Dubai, for example. So we already are seeing the tokenization, but, the West still a bit apprehensive to really kind of ramp up to the meaningful numbers we will eventually see. I think we're going to see it slowly but surely, guys. Chad Steingraber also posted this. Of course, there's the Clarity Act. I feel like people are getting tired hearing about it. Regardless, guys, it is going to pave the way for the real world adoption on the XRP ledger in the United States. And this is what we're kind of waiting for because it's the biggest economy. Now, this will translate to more demand for XRP. Chad posting this. When we do see the passing of the Clarity Act, this would formally codify XRP as a digital commodity, removing the regulatory risk premium. Even though XRP is already legal to go, we do need to see the entire ecosystem ready to go in order for us to see those premium prices. And what he's suggesting here, the classification rally will bring XRP anywhere between $5 to $10 per coin. So the metric, regulatory clarity, and institutional access. The rationale, once XRP is legally on par with Bitcoin and Ethereum in the United States, so that's a key factor there. In the US specifically, institutional allocators and conservative banks that were sidelined can now hold the asset. A move to this range represents the catch-up growth, bringing XRP's market cap in line with other major cleared digital assets. Then there's the operational tier, okay, $15 to $30. In this case, the scenario assumes that full regulatory clarity leads to the integration of XRP into U.S. domestic payment rails. So this is when we're really going to start to see it really kind of climb in value. Integration will be on the U.S. banking network. And at that point, we'll probably see most banks, if not all banks, leveraging XRP for payments. And don't forget, I mean, the XRP ledger is not the only mechanism for payments, but we're going to start to see the interoperability also come to pass. But then we're waiting for that full potential, right? In the most bullish hypothetical situation or scenario where the Clarity Act enables XRP to act as the primary liquidity layer for the US banking network, the price must scale to the total value of money that is moving. So that would be the $100 XRP. You heard it here from Sandy Call, the liquidity layer. That's what's important. And here, if we do see that primary liquidity layer for the banking network really kind of take off, gaining more and more adoption over the next several months to years, guys, this is when we're going to see XRP at its peak. At this point in time, we are still trading in a spec market. And if you guys are interested to hear how to subscribe,